attorneypatricksmith.com.
The following program is sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Get ready with your legal questions and call Patrick now. 877-943-9673. Again, that's 877-943-9673. The law office is open. And now your host, Patrick Smith.
Oh, hi there. This is Attorney Patrick Smith, and you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. Happy Thanksgiving week to everyone. Hope everybody has some very special Thanksgiving plans, and we're very excited to be with you on this, our edition of the Thanksgiving episode. So we'll talk a little bit about Thanksgiving, but we're always here to answer your legal questions. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's program. 877-943-9673. You can always email your questions, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. You can email us throughout the week or during the show, and we will have Peter, the intern, read your questions live on the air. Again, that email address, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And you can call in now, live and local. Open phone lines will get you and your question right on the air. Always excited to see who the first caller is going to be and from what market it's going to be. Maybe it'll be from our friends down in Sun City Center listening on 96.3 FM, or maybe it's going to be from our friends over at 90.3 FM, WLVF in beautiful Imperial Polk County. So no telling where it's going to be from. So we're excited to see. 877-943-9673. 877-943-9673. And your question can be on any legal topic at all. Lots of things I want to talk about today as far as legal topics, but more importantly, we're just here to answer your legal questions. So feel free to give us a call and ask your legal question, and you and everybody else in the listening audience will benefit from the answer. So the number to be part of the show, 877-943-9673. Okay, what I wanted to do to start our Thanksgiving special was to encourage everyone, when you're gathering together around the Thanksgiving table this week, and there's that natural lull in the conversation where, sort of everybody's had their second or third helping, and they're sort of in that food coma that precedes being hungry enough for dessert. When that lull in the conversation comes up, I want to encourage someone to bring up the topic of estate planning and amongst your loved ones to discuss whether or not everyone around the table has their estate plans in place. And it's not a fun topic. I mean, it's certainly tough to think about loved ones passing away, but I can assure you it's tougher to not have it addressed before they pass away. So Thanksgiving's often a good time when you're around the table with your family to bring it up in a gentle way of, hey, I just want to let you guys know we're all planning our estate, and we wanted to encourage you guys to do the same. And it'll get the conversation rolling. There's actually a fantastic book I have that I inherited from a library years ago that suggests will making is an appropriate dinner table conversation. And I often think that's a great idea. It'll get the topic going. You can talk about if you've done your planning at all, and if everyone around the table has done their planning, you can talk about the last time they've been in to see their attorney for an update. I find that that's the next big mistake next to not doing any planning at all. It is a failure to revisit the estate plan once it has been put in place. And I think that the issue of keeping your estate plan dynamic as opposed to static is extremely important. So you want to encourage everybody sitting around that Thanksgiving table that if they haven't seen their attorney in years, maybe it's time to review it. Maybe the kids were little when you did the plan and now they're grown up. Maybe there's grandbabies in the picture now. Maybe you've lost some loved ones. It's been a tough couple of years. We've lost some people to a terrible COVID pandemic. I've lost a sister to it, so it's tough. And some people out there are kind of reeling right now. And, estate planning is not necessarily the first thing to pop to your mind, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. And Thanksgiving's a great time when the families gather together in a nice, loving setting to have that conversation. And I find that families that have these conversations often have the most gentle and smooth post-mortem administrations because the family is involved with these conversations. The families where none of this is discussed and everything's sort of by surprise after the fact are often the ones that have the most trauma. So maybe you have a question about your estate plan or any legal topic. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of our program today. For those of you new to the show, I'm attorney Patrick Smith, local Central Florida attorney, offices throughout the Central Florida area, including Seminole and Sun City Center. 877-943-9673. Open phone lines for you to call in with your legal question now. And again, your legal question can be on any topic at all. Maybe it's a landlord-tenant issue. Maybe it is an issue regarding bankruptcy. Maybe it's an issue regarding your personal injury matter. Any topic at all, we'll do the very best we can to help you. 877-943-9673 or email your question patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Okay, so the Attorney Patrick Smith Show would be remiss if we did not give some time to the Kyle Rittenhouse case, which the jury, of course, yesterday acquitted Mr. Rittenhouse on all charges. And I wanted to spend a couple of moments talking about some key distinctions between Florida law and Wisconsin law here. Florida law, of course, is a stand your ground state, which means when you are facing a threat, you have the right to stand your ground and use reasonable force to defend yourself until that threat is no longer a threat. The issue in Wisconsin was Wisconsin is what we call a duty to flee state, which means when you face a threat, you have a duty to flee, which made the case all the more interesting. So maybe you want to talk about the Rittenhouse case. If you do, call in. We'll be happy to talk to you today about the Rittenhouse case. I know a lot of people have a lot of opinions and a lot of thoughts on it. 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or email patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com, or call in and be part of the show, 877-943-9673. So while we are waiting for our first calls to get queued up, let's go to Peter the intern with some email questions. Peter, the floor is yours.
Okay, so the first email question today is, I signed off on being a trustee for a friend's trust. Can I change my mind?
So the question was, I signed off on being a trustee for a friend's trust. So I'm assuming this means they accepted the role of a trustee. And the answer is yes, you have the right to change your mind. Most trusts lay out the terms for what we call a resignation of a trustee. So if a trustee chooses to resign, they, under our typical trust language, we usually have a 30-day provision. The 30-day provision is simply to provide for an ease of transition so that the successor taking over for the resigning trustee has the opportunity to review the accounting, the books, the records, ask questions of the outgoing trustee, and thereby provide the smoothest transition possible to the incoming trustee. Why? Because, again, our poll star is to make sure that the beneficiaries are not harmed and have received that maximum benefit. So that's the goal there. So yes, you can resign. Look to the terms of the trust. If there are no terms in the trust, then look to Florida Trust Code and consult with an attorney on the most effective way to resign. So 877-943-9673. That's your number to be part of today's program. I'm attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. 877-943-9673. Or email your question, just like that one, to patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to my hometown of Winter Haven, Florida, and talk to Edward. Edward, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Mr. Smith, good morning to you. Thanks for taking me on the call here.
Of course, Edward. How's everything in Winter Haven today?
Winter Haven's a little misty over here today, but it's nice. It's nice and cool. Excuse me. Hey, I have a question on my wife's dad recently passed away.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
And they have had Lord willing, he's in a better place, but they had a falling out long ago, and there hasn't been any conversation in the family with her for quite so many years. But this is my question. He had modest sort of possessions when he passed away, and she recently received some letters from an attorney. Her brother was given executor status and stuff through the majority of her sister in that agreement. But my question is, she has no interest at all of anything. But if they were to decide to send something in her direction, is that a taxable thing that she would have to account for?
Not to sound like I'm asking a silly question, Edward, but just to make sure, I wasn't the attorney that sent the letter, was I?
I don't believe so.
Okay,
no,
good.
This was at Englewood area in Florida. He's
Okay.
a Florida resident.
All right, so I think I'm safe to answer that question. So the short version is the taxes here. So people too often focus on just the income tax, Edward. I find that people get this, sort of hyper myopic view of the income tax, and they're worried about that. But there's really 4 major transfer taxes when you look at the Internal Revenue Code. And those 4 taxes are, of course, the income tax. Then you have the gift tax, the estate tax, and the generation skipping transfer tax. Now, I know it's, 8:13 on a Saturday morning, so I don't want to bore too many people. But the short version is, with regard to estates, your main concern there is the estate tax. And for most people, it's not applicable. Number one, as a Florida resident, presuming your father-in-law was a Florida resident, there is no Florida estate tax. The only estate tax that's applicable is the federal one. And you have to be north of 11.6 million to be exact.
Oh, okay.
So, no, there's not any estate tax issues. However, you want to make sure that the personal representative of the estate files the decedent's final 1040 and the final 1041 if necessary. If for no other reason, Edward, to make sure they shut down the Social Security number so there's no identity fraud. And you want to audit the last 3 years' tax returns to make sure there's been no identity theft there. The new identity theft that's going around is for people to go behind the back, especially of the elderly, to go behind the back of the elderly filing valid returns, and they're filing fraudulent amended returns. And if you're serving as the representative on the estate, you're on the hook for those. So you need to check the statute of limitations, the 3-year window. A good accountant will help you do this and make sure that you're exculpated. And I've had this happen where I'm serving as the representative. We look back and surely enough, there's fraudulent activity that we have to address. So it does occur. And if your wife doesn't want to receive anything from the estate, she can do what we call a conditional disclaimer. So she can do it on her own, or she can hire counsel to represent her and say, I am going to disclaim. However, before she does that, I would have her take a good, long, hard look at what would happen if she does disclaim. Because if she chooses to disclaim, it will treat her as having predeceased her father. And that'll have some consequences. Does your wife have children?
Well, we do. They're all grown, but the brother is the executor of the estate, and as I mentioned, they haven't conversed in quite some time. So there's even the possibility that there may be absolutely nothing of meager estate sort of thing that even comes our way. But my curiosity was, if something should, how best to handle that.
I think that if she's getting, first of all, was there a will or was there no will?
There was no will.
So with no will, if your wife disclaims, if she decides she doesn't want it, Florida is an anti-lapse state, which means it will preserve that share for your wife's children. So if she disclaims, that's what's going to happen. It's not going to go to brother. It's going to go down to your wife's children.
I see.
So,
okay.
So you want to make sure you've assessed kind of all those consequences before you make the determination. But I definitely recommend consulting with your own attorney and sitting down, and we've got an office right there on the Haines City Winter Haven line, and we'd be happy to meet with your wife and help her if we can. And I'll give out the main office line here.
You know what? I will keep that in mind, but her disposition is she's nothing to do with it. There was attempts at making amends between Dad and her, and he was just cold-blooded about things. So it's a nasty sort of. But I still would wish the brother and the sister the best of it all, and the best thing that could happen on our end is that they pretend we don't exist, as they have for so many years. It's not the Thanksgiving spirit and stuff, but I thank you for your taking my call.
Well, Edward, thank you for calling in. We appreciate it, and good luck to your wife, and again, our condolences to her and the rest of the family.
Thank you, sir. God bless. Have a good Thanksgiving.
You too. Happy Thanksgiving, Edward. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number. Open phone lines. It's as easy as Edward made it look. You just call in, ask your question. We give you the very best answer that we can. 877-943-9673. And you can email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. So the office line, if you want to reach us during the week to ask a quick question or to schedule your consultation, the number to reach any of our office locations in Seminole, Sun City Center, Tampa, 877-754-6764. That toll-free number to reach any of the staff. The office is open Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, and any of the staff that answers will be happy to get you scheduled or relay your message to me. 877-754-6764. And this is a question we've been getting, especially at speaking engagements, which, by the way, we are available to speak at your club or group. We got lots of those coming up. We'll keep them announced as they become relevant. The question that keeps coming up is, when we call, will we be meeting with you or someone else? No, you'll be meeting with me. I don't know who else you think you would be meeting with, but it would be me. And unless you want to meet with someone else, I mean, I don't know who else that would be. But yes, you call and make an appointment with yours truly. You will be meeting with me when you call and make that appointment. So if you would like to set up your complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764, 877-754-6764, and any of the staff Monday through Friday, 8 to 4:30, will be more than happy to get you scheduled. All right, to be part of today's program, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go back to Winter Haven, and let's talk to Tom. Tom, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
How you doing?
I'm great, Tom. We got 2 for 2 from my hometown today.
It doesn't look like a Winter Haven, but like I said to your screener, Clearwater, the water isn't always clear. But, mine is a trust question. My dad, he did very good for himself from, a Polk County upbringing. He was blue collar. He did all right. But I do have a trust. But my sister, because when this thing was first established, I used to be a fairly on top of my game guy, but, I fell in love with a woman and I got stupid. And, so bottom line is my sister is the trustee. At what point do I age to where I no longer have to account to her? Or does it just do I never age out?
I don't know is the short answer, Tom. It's going to be set by the terms of the trust. Do you have a copy of the trust?
Yes, I have all kinds of documentation.
Yeah, so
I'm very good about that.
Yeah, so I would say, take a look at it yourself. There's going to be something called a distribution clause somewhere in that trust. It's going to lay out the terms and conditions of your distributions and your rights to inherit. Take a look at it, and if you understand it, then great. If not, if you need someone to just take a look at it with you, we'll give you a complimentary consultation. You can call and make an appointment, and we'll take a look at the documents, tell you what you are entitled to or are not entitled to based on that, and more than happy to do that for you, Tom. But it's going to be laid out in the terms of the trust.
All right. Well, you know what? Even though, yes, I did earn my bachelor's from the University of Florida, but legal language really, it's very tedious. Okay, I can speak better Spanish than legal language, if you understand what I'm saying.
So are you a native Imperial Polk Countyan?
No, I was born in Polk, but I was raised in Clearwater, but now I'm back in Polk.
Okay. How many
after I moved to Erie County, New York, and after I moved to Westchester County, New York.
No way.
And I've been, geez.
Well,
I lived in Gainesville for. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say my wife's family, or part of them, are from Buffalo, the North Tonawanda area, so up in that region.
Oh, I love North Tonawanda.
Well,
Buffalo gets a bum rap.
Well, that's because it's cold and it snows, Tom.
Well, it snows off the Lake Erie, too, but if you're prepared, it's just like down here. Have the AC charged up when August gets here because it's going to get hot.
Yeah, but hold on,
And,
Tom. Let's go back to the start of the call. So you're giving Winter Haven a hard time for not being a winter haven. You give Clearwater a hard time for not necessarily always having clear water. How many buffalo have you seen in Buffalo that you love so much?
I am being a little flippant. I'm just saying today Winter Haven doesn't look like a Winter Haven. I love Winter Haven.
Oh, it's great.
I
It's great.
love Clearwater. I'm just saying Winter Haven isn't always a Winter Haven, and Clearwater isn't always clear when it comes to water.
Well, it's always a
Yeah.
pleasure to talk to another native Polk Countyan. And Tom, I think the short answer to your question is just get that document reviewed by an attorney. And if you'd like that to be us, we'd be more than happy to review it with you.
Well, I've got your phone number.
Give us a holler, and we'll sit down with you, Tom, and get you pointed in the right direction, okay?
A holler.
Yes,
Give
sir.
us a holler.
That's what we say in Polk County.
Oh, believe me, when in Buffalo, I was in Medicaid managed care. My job took me into the hood. I'm walking up to a bodega, which I thought is where you could get a woman, and that's a bordello. I got it wrong, but
Yeah.
there's like three brothers standing there. I walked up and said, "Howdy, how y'all doing?"
Before you finish this show, hey, Tom, before you finish this story, I want to remind you, this is a family show, so there's kids listening, so just, angle accordingly, okay?
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. I don't think even if they are kids, they don't know what a bodega
That's
or
okay.
any of that is. But when these brothers were standing there, I'm like, "Howdy, how y'all doing?" You should have seen the look they gave me. Depending on where you live, how you speak, like how you doing, Ute. Did you say Ute? What is a Ute? Remember, like my cousin
My
Vinny?
cousin
A
Vinny,
Ute?
yeah, absolutely. Great film.
That, by the way, is Herman Munster. The judge is Herman Munster.
Yes. Yeah, a lot of people don't know that. And my favorite scene from
I
Cousin
didn't know
Vinny
that.
was when he came back in the same suit, and he said, "I thought I told you never to wear that suit again in my courtroom." And he said, "Oh, you were serious about that?" Well, Tom, I've got to move on, but I appreciate you calling in.
Utes. Okay,
Tom,
bye.
happy Thanksgiving. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. And Tom, thank you for being a very entertaining caller today. All right, if you want to be part of our show today, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673, or email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And let's go to Gibsonton and talk to Will. Will, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, sir.
How are you, Will?
I've got a better than I deserve.
There you go. Amen.
I've got a I've got a property in Hillsborough County. I lived there most of my life, and then got married and moved to Pinellas County. She already had a house, so we lived in that house for 10, 12 years. I did not know I had to remove my homestead from the other property.
Yes, sir.
So for 3 or 4 years, they're charging me the difference between living there with a homestead and living there without a homestead, and now they're adding interest and penalty. It's up to $26,000. I know with the IRS you can do an offer and compromise. Is there any way, because this was not done intentionally, I honestly just was stupid. I didn't know. Is there any way of getting that to disappear or to decrease?
Sure, there's avenues to negotiate there, and I think it's a wise idea to hire counsel. We've got the attorneys. I work with them. They're not within my firm per se, but they're sort of in my circle of friends, I say, Will, and they'd be happy to sit down with you and consult as far as what your options are. But that, last week's episode was sort of dedicated to homestead, and so this is an interesting follow-up, but that's a great point. A lot of people don't make sure that they update their tax records. So we talked about last week, when you marry, making sure you're aware of how your marriage will affect your homestead, and you were sort of a interesting niche to that sort of scenario, because it wasn't that it affected your homestead by giving your spouse rights. It affected your homestead by terminating it, because you didn't have a homestead any longer, because you had a homestead on another property. So you can't have two primary residences by definition. So, but to answer your question directly, yes. Just give me a call at the office on Monday. We will put you in touch with an attorney who can work with you on trying to negotiate some sort of settlement.
Now, I listen to you on Moody Radio,
Yes, sir.
so I'm hoping and assuming that whoever you refer me to would be of a Christian faith.
Amen. Absolutely. Yes, sir.
Thank you, brother. All right, have a blessed day.
You too, Will. Have a great day. Alrighty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can call in now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. Open phone lines, get you and your question right on the air, 877-943-9673. And you can always email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. So that was a great question there from Will, because it sort of piggybacks with what we started the show with, talking about Thanksgiving, bringing up estate planning and reviewing your documents. Here's an example where reviewing your homestead status could have saved someone a bunch of money, because at the end of the day, just removing that status instead of claiming homestead and incurring all the penalties and interest that Will's going through now, a simple update would have avoided that. And there's lots of examples throughout estate planning where simple updates are a great example of the old adage, an ounce of prevention's worth a pound of cure. And at the end of the day, I can't emphasize it enough how important it is to have these reviews with your attorney, whether it's us or some other attorney. Make sure you sit down with your estate planning attorney periodically. I always recommend to my clients every 3 years. And I say, but don't be afraid to come in sooner if something changes within the family. So if you feel like you need to talk to us, call us. I tell my clients it's never the wrong answer to call me. So if you all have a question, always default to calling your attorney. I don't think that'll ever bite you in the end. I think that'll always serve you well to default to calling your attorney and err on the side of caution. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of our show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. This is the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. 877-943-9673, or email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to beautiful Sarasota, Florida, and talk to Joanne. Joanne, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning.
Good morning, Joanne.
So happy you have continued the show.
Well, thank you, Joanne. I appreciate you saying that.
I have a question. Until I get to an attorney to make a change in a will, if I take the will and make the change and initial it, would that be binding and legal?
Well, let me answer your question with a question, and I'm not trying to be a smart aleck, Joanne. I'm trying to demonstrate a point. So humor me for a moment, okay?
Sure.
Let's presume that that was the law in the state of Florida. To modify a will, you could simply mark through it and initial. No other formalities were required. Do you think that that would lead to more or less fraud with wills in the state of Florida?
Well, obviously more.
Right.
I was thinking of having the change witnessed as well.
So the typical rule is that changes to the will are executed with the same formalities as the original will creation. And that is to safeguard, under our public policy, the integrity of the will. And you want to safeguard it from lots of things. Undue influence by third parties. You want to safeguard against someone executing a will while they lack legal capacity. So you want to make sure that and simply having someone with the ability to initial and mark through something would remove that protection. So no, the modification needs to be executed with the same formality as the original will.
The whole will doesn't have to be dissected and changed, does it? Or
No.
just that one change?
No, it's called a codicil, and codicil is a fancy word for amendment. But basically, at the end of the day, you can just tweak that particular section. When I'm changing a section of a will for a client, I charge $75.
Oh, very good. That's
So-
reasonable enough.
Yeah, I mean, if you want, I can charge you more, Joanne, but normally that would be the charge.
No,
Okay.
that's my whole point here.
I hear it in your voice. I hear it. You're concerned about it, and that's a perfectly valid concern. That's why one of the reasons why we publish our rates for our services. A lot of clients are just apoplectic at the thought of what it's going to cost to plan an estate. So I said, well, we'll give you the numbers right up front. That way, people can know and budget accordingly, and there's no fear or intimidation about what they're going to be charged.
So your closest office is where?
So if you're in Sarasota, probably Sun City Center, I would guess.
You don't have one in Lakewood Ranch yet?
We're working on it.
You're working on it.
We're working on it. So we are trying very hard to get to Lakewood Ranch. But at the end of the day, Sun City Center would probably be the closest at this point. And if you call the office and tell them you want to be notified when that Lakewood Ranch location opens, they will put you on the list, okay?
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Joanne. Thanks for calling in, okay?
Bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith, 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number to be part of today's program, 877-943-9673. You can call in now and be part of the program and ask your legal question. And it's just as easy as all these other callers have made it look. You call in, ask your question. We give you the very best answer we can live over the air. 877-943-9673. Or email your question, Patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. Speaking of our rates for our services, for our standard will, it is $75. For our power of attorney, we charge $95. For the living will, it is $50. And a very fantastic listener and fan of the show suggested that when I mention the trust package, I make a special note that includes all the above items. So the trust package, which costs $695, includes your power of attorney, your living will, your pour-over will, your trust, your deed. It's a whole package that covers the entire plan for $695, and that's often done for estates who are concerned about avoiding probate. So those are our rates. We do publish those so that clients can have a little peace of mind when they go to make their estate plan. So if you'd like to schedule your consultation to make out your estate plan, 877-754-6764. Again, that number to call the office throughout the week to schedule your estate planning consultation, 877-754-6764. But to be part of today's program, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. And you can always email your question, Patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. You can also visit our website throughout the week. We haven't mentioned the website in a while, attorneypatricksmith.com. That's available for you. We have a operational site up, but we are currently working on a massive revamp that we are very excited about rolling out the new website. So we'll make sure to announce that when that debuts. But in the meantime, you can check out some of our information at attorneypatricksmith.com or give us a call now and be part of the show, 877-943-9673. Email your questions, Patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And we're just waiting on a couple calls here to queue up, and we will have them ready to go. So, Peter the intern, while we're waiting on these calls to queue, another email question.
Okay. Someone emailed, I am on my father's checking, money market, and CD. Will they all become mine when he dies? Also, will there be a tax on me when I give my siblings their percent of that money?
So this is a common strategy. We see it all the time where a child's name is just added to a bank account. Are there tax consequences? Yes, there's potential gift tax consequences when the name was added and the child didn't put any money in the account. That's treated as a gift. And then the concern about the secondary gift where they gift the money to the siblings upon the parent's passing. That's also a taxable event. Again, if it's beyond the present interest annual exclusion, this is within that second prong of the four major transfer taxes. We talked about the four earlier. The gift tax has an exemption of $15,000 per person per year. You go beyond that and you run afoul of that tax. You got to file a 709, allocate unified credits, or otherwise pay tax. So at the end of the day, bad strategy in my opinion. I think it's a bad idea to put kids' names on stuff in general, because if the kids are involved in an accident or something of that nature, you also expose those assets potentially to the children's liabilities. Far more efficient strategies out there besides just adding a child's name to an account. But the answer to the question directly, yes, there are tax exposures from multiple angles there. So be concerned and consult an accountant about that. Alrighty, let's go to Tampa and let's talk to Tricia. Tricia, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Thank you.
Hi, Tricia. How are you today?
Fine, thank you.
Good. How can I help?
Well, I had a will put together about 25 years ago. The attorney is no longer in business, and I wonder if it's still valid.
So wills don't go bad because of the passage of time. So, I mean, you could do a will when you're 18 years old. 80 years could go by and you're 98. And that will's still just as legally valid. Now, remember at the top of the hour, talking about reviewing and updating, it's not necessarily the law that's changing, but it's the things in your life. So my concern there, Tricia, is since your life's so dynamic, and it's been 25 years, I'm certain that a lot has changed in your life over 25 years. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
And I guess my question is, too, if I don't have a copy, if I'm unable to find it, do I just start fresh, obviously, correct?
Yeah, I think you would have to. I mean, I think if you don't know what your will says, I think you can reach out to the former attorney. I know you said he retired. Certainly he had a successor and interest out there, and I think you could probably try to track down your records. Or if you simply wanted to start fresh, you have that option as well. But I think that it certainly deserves to be updated after 25 years, probably more to do with the fact that your life has changed, not so much that the will's become invalid because of the passage of time. That's simply not the case.
And what would happen to the documents of that attorney? What do they do once they retire?
Great question. So typically they designate an inventory attorney who will take over their files. So they should have one of those designated.
Okay, and if you can't find who took over, then just start fresh.
You can, and you can always contact the Florida Bar, and they should have the contact information for whomever the successor is for that retired attorney.
Wonderful. Thank
All
you
right.
so much.
Tricia, thank you. Thanks for calling in. Enjoy your Thanksgiving, okay?
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. To be part of today's program, 877-943-9673. Yeah, us attorneys do retire on occasion, and that does happen. There is a procedure for that, so you can always contact the Florida Bar, and they'll be happy to help you find whomever the successor is for your retired attorney. 877-943-9673. That's your live and local number, or email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to Palm Harbor and talk to Larry. Larry, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Well, thank you, Patrick.
Hey, Larry.
Enjoy your show.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that.
And I had a question about legal insurance plans. What do you think of them in general? And are there any that you might recommend?
So, I think my best answer on that is to say no comment. And I don't mean that with any negative connotation, so please don't take it as he said no comment, then that's a bad thing. I don't really think I know enough about them. I know lots of, and we're a provider for some, and I don't want to mention them on the air for fear of giving them an endorsement that I don't know that I would endorse necessarily. But we are a provider for certain legal plans. What I guess I would recommend is, Larry, just shop around. And if there's lots of legal plans out there, and I would say just do your research and make sure you know what you're getting. It's kind of like with any insurance. You know, if you're getting life insurance or you're getting home and auto, casualty, umbrella, you're going to do your research. You're going to check your premiums, your coverage, that kind of stuff. And I think if you do that, you'll wind up with the best option.
Okay. All right. Fair enough.
All right. Larry, thanks for calling in. Happy Thanksgiving.
Yes, same to you.
All right, bye-bye. All right, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can give us a call now, 877-943-9673. Again, that toll-free number, 877-943-9673. Or to reach us at the office during the week for your complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. And as always, you can email your questions to patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to Steve in Sarasota. Steve, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning.
Good morning, Steve.
Hey, I have some assets, and I would like to leave a cash flow stream to someone upon my passing. However, I don't want to leave the assets, as I believe they would be transferred upon her death to children. And I have no interest in doing that. How would I go about setting up that cash flow stream from some of my assets, and upon departure, those assets would then go to various institutions that I would like to donate to?
So the options are you can set up some sort of trust vehicle, and you can lay out some sort of distribution scheme, and that scheme can be very broad or it can be very narrow, and I'll demonstrate the points, Steve. So your broadest distribution would be something like 100% shall be held in trust and distributed at the sole discretion of the trustee over the beneficiary's lifetime for their health, education, maintenance, and support. That means the trustee has full authority to do whatever they want, distribute every last dime if they want to, or hold it back as they see fit, whatever they deem is in the beneficiary's best interest. The other end of the spectrum is a very restricted distribution. You get $100 a month out of the trust, and that's it. Or some small percentage. And then there's anything in between. So you can say you get, $2,500 every 3 months, and then once a year you get 10%. And that happens for 25 years, and then at the end of the 25 years, then this happens. Or if you pass beforehand, then this happens. So you really get to be as creative or uncreative as you want to be. So you can craft that plan and individualize it so that it's designed to accomplish exactly what you want. And when you get into that sort of customization, a lot of times clients freeze up because they're afraid about making a mistake. Don't do that. And don't let perfect be the enemy of good here. At the end of the day, you realize we can always revisit and tweak these plans. Again, I can't, sort of the theme of this show has sort of been, the idea of revisiting estate plans. I can't emphasize that enough. Number one is creating an estate plan. But a close second is revisiting that estate plan periodically to continue to ensure that it's optimal and it's best to protect your family. So really that's what you would create, Steve, is some sort of trust distribution that says, here's your income stream that you're getting. And then upon that person's passing or upon the ending of a certain period of time, the distribution outright to these institutions.
What I'm thinking is more restrictive. That you have certain cash flow stream with an annual CPI inflator that would, keep that amount more or less current.
All right. So, Steve, are you an accountant?
No, I'm not.
An economist? Because you just made a CPI reference. People don't just trot out consumer price index references like that.
I do have a long history in finance.
Ah, there it is. We knew it was there somewhere because I was an economics major myself, and you know what they say about economics majors, right?
No.
Economics majors are people who are good with money, but we didn't have the personality to be accountants.
Oh my God.
All right. But Steve, does that answer your question? You can be as restrictive as you want, so you get to design that, okay?
Yes. The other thing that I might inquire from you, the individual in question I introduced to someone at the Pippin Group of attorneys, and an estate plan was set up. Now, if I were to do something with you, is there going to be any conflict of interest? Not that I ever anticipate that there would be any kind of legal discussion, but I mean, is there any kind of conflict of interest that might be set up?
I don't know of any conflict that would be. I mean, the Pippin Group is still in existence. You have every right of choosing to work with them or choosing to work with any attorney you'd like. I mean, there's no obligation one way or the other, but I don't see how there would be some sort of conflict.
Okay. I would like to set up an appointment with you.
All right. I'll give out the office number here in a little bit, and you can give us a call whenever you're ready, okay?
Be delighted. Thank you.
Have a great day, sir. Bye-bye. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can give us a call now, 877-943-9673. Open phone lines. We will get you and your question right on the air. 877-943-9673. Again, I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can email your questions to patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And as I promised, the office number to schedule that complimentary consultation, 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. All righty. Next, we are going to Sarasota, and we're going to talk to John. John, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
How are you today?
Great, John. How can I help?
So, my daughter, and when she was 17 years old, she went to work for a local company, and she decided about 2 weeks ago that she was going to leave that job. And she gave them notice this past Monday, at which time they told her that her services were no longer required. So she didn't work out the notice, and they had taken away the scheduled days that she had already had. When she picked her check up on Friday, she had noticed that they reduced her pay down to, she was making $12 an hour, and they reduced her down to minimum wage. And she was kind of befuddled about why she was reduced, and they said, well, you signed this piece of paper that says if you don't give us notice, that we can reduce your pay back down to minimum wage. My understanding is that you can never reduce hours that have already been worked to another wage, and that at the time that that she signed that document, she was a minor. I didn't review all of her stuff, just kind of the tax information that she needed. And so that's where we stand today, and I'm not really quite sure how far I should pursue this, or if I should pursue it at all.
Well, so labor law and employment law is something that I know just enough about to know that I don't know enough about it to answer your question, John, is the short answer. So I will be happy to give you a recommendation, a couple of recommendations, if you want to call me at the office next week so that they can review you said it's your daughter who experienced this, to review your daughter's situation and make sure that everything is, kosher and current, and as far as her rights and whether or not there's any applicable statute of limitations or anything of that nature.
Sure.
But I'll give out that office number here shortly, and you can give us a call next week, and we'll make sure your daughter and you get the best help we can, okay?
All righty. Thank you.
You're welcome, sir. All righty, you're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. You can give us a call now, 877-943-9673, 877-943-9673. We'll get you and your question right on the air. You can always email your question, patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. And sometimes that's the case, like John's question. We may not have the answer, but our promise to you is we will always put you in touch with someone who can give you the best answer. So labor law is a very nuanced area of law, very tricky, and we work with some great labor law attorneys, so we'll be happy to put John in touch with them. John, to give us a call at the office during the week, 877-754-6764. 877-754-6764. You can give us a call during the week, and we'll be happy to give you a referral. And to be part of today's program, 877-943-9673, or email patrick@attorneypatricksmith.com. All right, let's go to St. Pete. Let's talk to Yvonne. Yvonne, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show.
Good morning, and thank you.
Good morning, Yvonne.
I have a kind of an unusual situation. It is a friend who needs a knee joint replacement. Never, for the most part, paid into Social Security. So, and too old to get disability. We don't know where to turn. The whole family's trying to help, and I don't even know what direction to go in. He does have an appointment with Social Security on Monday to collect on mine. Actually, I'm his ex-wife, not a friend, but a friend. And but that's only going to provide like $400 a month. So
have they looked at applying for Medicaid?
He already has Medicaid. But
Okay.
You can't find a doctor that'll do a knee joint replacement on Medicaid so far.
Got it. So again, I'll give out the office number here, Yvonne, and I'm coming up on the end of the show, and we'll give you some contacts next week at the office who may be able to provide your friend with some physician references who may be able to help them, okay?
That would be absolutely wonderful.
All right. Yvonne, I'm sorry about your friend, and wish them good luck with their knee surgery, okay?
Thank you.
All righty. All right, let's go quickly to Lutz, and let's talk to Logan. Logan, welcome to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I've got about 30 seconds, Logan, okay?
All right. So my question is I got a little behind in one of my bills, and they call 4 to 7 times a day. When I asked them about it, they said they're allowed to because it's a simple interest loan. Is that correct?
So the type of attorney you need to speak to is a debtor-collector law attorney, and I have some fantastic ones. I'll give out the office number. Call me next week at the office, Logan, and we'll put you in touch with him, okay?
Okay.
All righty, Logan. Thanks for calling in. You're listening to the Attorney Patrick Smith Show. I'm your host, Attorney Patrick Smith. Before we sign off today, I did want to wish a very happy birthday to my good friend Chelsea Bond. If you are in the market for jewelry, make sure you check out Chelsea Bond Jewelry on the interweb. You can find her company, great company. But happy birthday, Chelsea. Hope it's a great day for you. And everyone, thank you for tuning in. Happy Thanksgiving. God bless. Stay safe and go Gators.
The proceeding was sponsored by the law offices of Patrick L. Smith.
Faith Talk 570, WTPN. Odyssey. Strength between Sundays. Faith Talk 570 and 910. Online at letstalkfaith.com.
Attention Americans 65 and older. The Medicare annual enrollment period for 2022 has begun. This is the only time to change your Medicare